James stolen by Davis. Ahead to Rondo. Rondo, one man to beat. Swoops back to Allen. Pretty pass. And the finish. Rajon Rondo with his 9th assist of the afternoon.
Rajon Rondo, one of the greatest playmakers of our generation. He's a part of a rare breed of point guards that is uncommon in today's game. I'm talking about the pass first, take shots second type of player. One that would rather get their team on fire than themselves. Nowadays, we see too many point guards that can do it all, and I'm not saying that's bad, but it's just very common nowadays. I'm talking about the point guards that can jam it on bigs and shoot from 30 feet out. Rajon Rondo has been casted aside as one of the more forgotten point guards in today's league. A player that can get you a 15-15 game and not get any recognition for it. Today, I'm here to tell you why I believe Rajon Rondo is one of the most slept on all-time great point guards, one that I believe should make it to the Hall of Fame. For today's video, I will be judging based on the success of Rajon Rondo's individual resume, both NBA and international level, his individual production and statistics along with some of his best games, impact made on a team level, and his legacy. So let's start off with taking a look at his resume. Rajon Rondo's NBA resume is full of success. He was a 4-time NBA All-Star, All-NBA third team, 2-time All-Defensive first team, 2-time All-Defensive second team, 3-time assist leader, NBA steals leader, NBA All-Rookie second team, and the 2008 NBA champion. He doesn't have an international resume at all, never getting the chance to play for Team USA during the Olympics. Rondo's a very odd player because in his case, his prime came early on in his career, rather than in the middle like it should have. His last All-Star appearance was when he was 26 years old, which was 7 years ago. During the 4 consecutive years in which he was an All-Star, the case could be made that he was one of the best point guards in the league, if not the best point guard. He was also noted as one of the best defenders in the league, making an all-defensive team in the same 4 years as he was an All-Star. All around, Rajon Rondo was one of the most loved players, and it seemed like he would be one of the most successful point guards for the upcoming years. However, during the 2012-2013 season, he tore his ACL, which limited him to only 38 games that season. That ACL tear, along with a bunch of other tiny injuries, meant his prime was cut short. Rajon Rondo's injuries has greatly held back his career. Now, let's take a look at his statistics and production. Rajon Rondo's career stats look like 10.2 points per game, 8.3 assists per game, 4.7 rebounds per game, on 45.8 field goal percentage, 31.6 3-point percentage, along with 1.7 steals per game, and 2.8 turnovers a game. In his best season, which was the 2009-2010 season, Rajon Rondo put up 13.7 points per game, 9.8 assists per game, 4.4 rebounds a game, on 50.8 field goal percentage, 21.3 3-point percentage, along with 2.3 steals and 3 turnovers. As you can see from Rondo's stats, he's a traditional pass-first point guard. Rondo plays his best basketball when he's surrounded by players that can score the ball. Some of his best teammates were Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Anthony Davis, and DeMarcus Cousins. And clearly, those were his best seasons by far statistically. He was an All-Star on the Celtic roster with Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce. And in Sacramento with DeMarcus Cousins, he led the league in assists. Rondo can play terrific defense when needed to as well. However, his offensive game leaves much to be desired. Similarly to how teams guard Ben Simmons, they'll leave a 5 to 8 foot gap between him and the defender when he's on the perimeter. Rajon Rondo, however, is not 6'10", so scoring would be a lot harder for him. This has led him to be one of the more crafty players, always trying to get his teammates open rather than himself. His lack of a jumper has held him back over the years from raising his game to the next level. It's still not every day that you can find an NBA player to give you a double-double in assists. Rajon Rondo holds his fair share of records. Here are some of the more unusual ways that Rajon Rondo has put his name in the record books. Rajon Rondo is one of only 3 players to put up 15 points 15 rebounds, and 15 assists in one game, Jason Kidd and Wilt Chamberlain being the other two. He's also one of the only 3 players to put up 29 points, 18 rebounds, and 13 assists in a playoff game, Oscar Robertson and again Wilt Chamberlain being the only other 2. He's also had 37 straight games of having 10 or more assists, only trailing Magic Johnson for the longest streak in NBA history, Magic Johnson having 46 straight games. He's also the only player in NBA history to have 44 points, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds in a single playoff game. He's 9th all-time in most assists in a single game, having 25 assists. And as of right now, Rajon Rondo is the 12th most triple-doubles all-time. Those are some obscure records, but they are records nonetheless. Now that we've got some of his best stats out of the way, let's take a look at his impact on a team level. This is by far the most confusing part of Rajon Rondo's career. Rajon Rondo has played with 6 different teams, and to put it frankly, he's had varying success on each one. In Boston, he was a starting point guard and was one of the major reasons why they won a championship. With that being said, he was also surrounded by 3 All-Stars at the same time, and not to mention also having one of the best coaches, Doc Rivers, also fitting Rajon Rondo's playstyle of gritty defense. Dallas was the next spot in Rajon Rondo's career, and saying that was a terrible move was definitely an understatement. Although the team did make the playoffs, they were defeated in 5 games in the first round, and Rajon Rondo was benched after Game 2. He quickly left Dallas after, the Sacramento Kings being the next place he would go. He only managed to pick up 33 wins with DeMarcus Cousins and missed the playoffs. The Windy City of Chicago would be the next place Rajon Rondo would go and play for. Rajon Rondo would team up with Jimmy Butler and a washed Dwayne Wade. They finished the season with the overall 500 record, which is 41-41. The 8th seeded Bulls would go up against the number 1 seeded Celtics. And in this series, I believe this solidified Rajon Rondo as playoff Rondo. Here's why. The Bulls went up 2-0 at the start of the series. Rajon Rondo would quickly get injured in Game 3, and the Bulls would go on to get swept right after, losing the next 4 games. In that playoff series, Rajon Rondo averaged 12 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, and 4 steals a game. Playoff Rondo was the reason why they won the first 2 games of that series, which is why I believe Playoff Rondo does exist, whether you like it or not. Rajon Rondo would however again move to the Pelicans this time, teaming up with Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, 2 All-Stars that were forced to be reckoned with down in the paint. They did very well this year together, winning 48 games in the regular season and sweeping the Portland Trail Blazers in the first round that were led by Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. The Pelicans would unfortunately get swept in the next round by the reigning champion Golden State Warriors. But I mean, who was beating that team? I don't think anyone could have beat the 2017 Warriors. This now leads us to Rajon Rondo's current team, the Los Angeles Lakers. Rajon Rondo only played 46 games that year, and the team missed the playoffs. His role was reduced a lot more, however, coming off the bench this year. The team has had a lot more success, but that can be because it has LeBron James and Anthony Davis playing alongside each other. The Los Angeles Lakers are the favorites to win the West this year. If they do win a championship this year in the bubble, and Rajon Rondo stays for next year, and they go on to win back-to-back, I think that would strengthen Rajon Rondo's NBA resume a lot more. It wouldn't mean as much as his Celtics championship, but it's a championship nonetheless. Rajon Rondo has found a way to contribute to whatever team he's on. With that being said, if he gets a star that complements his game well, he will succeed more. Outside of the Celtics system that he was drafted into, he didn't have much success. The closest way I could compare Rajon Rondo's game is to John Stockton. John Stockton wouldn't be who he is without Karl Malone. They just fit and work well. Now, let's have a look at Rajon Rondo's overall legacy to see if he should make the Hall of Fame. Rondo is without a doubt one of the best passers in all of NBA history. There aren't too many players that have a whole move named after them. And right now, Rondo's 15th all-time in total assists. And if he holds up what he's doing right now, he'll for sure climb up that leaderboard. Personally, I think he can make it to the top 10 in all-time assists. Rondo's had his fair share of highlights, and a lot of that could be seen on the 2008 Celtics roster, where he'll be one of the most remembered players on that team. If it wasn't for all those nagging injuries and the ACL tear, I'm sure he would still be a top 10 point guard in today's league. His prime was fairly short, but it was one of the most dominant times we've ever seen from a player that wasn't a primary scorer. A lot of people have very fond memories of Rajon Rondo, which I believe adds to his legacy. In conclusion, Rondo has seemed to have gone under the radar over the years, but you can't talk about 2000 to 2010 basketball without mentioning his name. He was the heart of the Celtics roster, always giving them energy when they were down. Another person that brings that type of energy would be Draymond Green. Both players bring a unique style of basketball to their teams. Neither player needs to score to be successful, but when you surround them with talent, their game elevates. Passers never get much respect. Just take a look at Mark Jackson, for example. He has over 10,000 assists and is 4th all-time in total assists, but nobody remembers him. So, should Rondo make it to the Hall of Fame? In my opinion, I think it's a yes, but not a definite yes. His final upcoming years will play a major part in deciding that. If he wins a championship with the Lakers, and maybe even a second one, I think that solidifies him into the Hall of Fame. I think the answer would have 100% been yes if he wouldn't have been plagued with injuries. But that's just how sport goes. Basketball Reference Hall of Fame probability says that it'll be 40.7% chance that he makes it. I think a more accurate number would be around 70 to 80% chance. But now, I leave it up to you guys. Please leave your opinions in the comment section down below on if Rajon Rondo should make it to the Hall of Fame, or if he shouldn't and why. Cheers.